It's that time of year. Bare root trees are starting to arrive in the mail. This is an order from Zero Fox Tree Crops, which is a really cool new company that I just found out about this year. And they grow a lot of hardy food crops, and they sell them at a really good price. So I'm happy to be showing everybody what they have on offer right now. This is just a sampling of what they carry. Now, I've ordered my fair share of bare root trees in the mail before, and the only downside of doing that is the plastic. They always have to be shipped in all this plastic. Just need some more technologies to produce biodegradable versions of plastic that actually will keep these things hydrated in transit. Now, it's amazing. It's amazing how tiny bare root things are when they're all packaged up. I remember I had like a $700 order from another company one year, and it came in this one rather smallish box. And I remember I was expecting that I would need like a big pickup truck to go and pick it all up. So I opted to have it delivered, and then it was just this one little box because there's no dirt, the roots are still small, the plants are young, and they're just packed in tightly. So bare root trees are some of the best trees you can get for your growing space because they are dug up when they are completely dormant, and then you plant them in your garden in very, very early spring before they break dormancy and come back to life. And so when they do come back to life after dormancy, they are already in their new home and they adjust much better, as opposed to if you dig up a tree that's growing happily and disturb all of its roots while it's trying to grow, it can go through more shock when you transplant it. Trees that are grown in pots for extended periods of time at a nursery or garden center can end up root bound. So bare root is ideal, and it's also cheaper. But no hate if you go to a garden center and can't resist buying something in a pot. I also understand that. All right, we have here elderberry. This is Marge variety. This is a different elderberry from the ones that I have. Currently I have a wild elderberry that I transplanted from my mom's old farm. And I also have a Bob Gordon variety. And this one is Marge. It's already got some green stems coming up there. Elderberries are super tough, hardy, but I'm going to dunk them in some water. You can add a little bit of some sort of organic fertilizer to a water solution like fish emulsion or something like that. I'm just dumping them in a little bit of water here, and then I am going to plant them within like half an hour, as long as the rain continues to hold off, because I am still sick, and as much as I want to get this job done, I don't need to be planting in the rain on a cold day again. What else do we have? Oh, a gummy berry. These are cool. This wasn't even one that I really had on my list of things I was aware of, but I looked into it and it looks pretty cool. Here comes the rain again. We got some hazelnuts. I use hazelnuts in my hedgerow that I'm building. Hazelnuts are a great one to, this is a stick my child left here. Hazelnuts are a great plant to attract squirrels and things away from your garden. So if you have a perimeter that's planted in things like hazelnuts and elderberries and all the things that maybe you don't use as much or aren't as prized in your garden, then it can attract those critters to the outskirts of your garden and away from your vegetables. English walnuts. So I have a suburban homestead here, and we cannot have walnut trees. There's just not enough room. We have a bunch of mature maples around us. But luckily, my mom, just 10 minutes down the road, has a nice piece of land that she's rewilding, and she does not have English walnuts yet. So we're going to take these to her house tomorrow and plant them. And so in the meantime, I'm going to do what's called healing them in. I'm going to find a little piece of ground, soil that's somewhere, and I'm going to just dig a little slit in the ground and pop these in and then tamp them down, and that way they can stay hydrated and they can wait until tomorrow when I take them to plant them. Okay, and then there's also, this is skullcap. I mean, it looks like nothing. It's a baggie with roots in it. Skullcap. Arnica is a cool plant that was on my wish list. These plants are medicinal as well, and that's awesome because I want to learn a bit more about medicinal plants this year. I was just about to go and plant those trees, and I realized that the rain had sped up quite a bit. But I have some other things to open because 'tis the season for plants and things and seeds to come in the mail. I won a little Instagram contest, which is so cool. I love winning these things. It's happened twice in my life. Once I won a pair of rubber boots, so handy, and now I've won some seeds, and these were from Greenhouse in the Snow, Canada, and I'm just going to open them up to see what they sent. Okay, Cool Customer Cucumber, Machosen Farm Kale. I'll have to read all the descriptions on these too. Ooh, this is the offspring of Red Russian, White Russian, Lacinato, Rainbow, and others. This is quite a mutt of a kale. Cool. Amish paste tomato. These are my favorite paste tomato. Thank you. Florenza sunflower. My goal is to plant lots of sunflowers this year because the squirrels tend to get a lot of them, so got to plant lots to keep ahead of them. And fennel. Oh, cool. You know, I planted bronze fennel one year. I was influenced by somebody on social media, and it was like a Baker Creek seed. And it's turned out to be, I believe it would probably be invasive. It's just invasive species take time to identify. I planted it once, and now it is one of the most pervasive weeds in my garden, and it doesn't form bulbs, which is really frustrating. But this is a culinary fennel, so it forms bulbs. Perfect. Okay, I'm going to grow this because I wanted fennel, and my bronze fennel never bulbed for me. Exciting. Thank you so much, Greenhouse in the Snow. One more thing before I go and take a little reprieve from the rain. Ooh, can you hear the rain? This is exciting. This is seed potatoes. The first of 3 packages from different sources. This year I am working with the Ecological Farmers Association of Ontario. I'm actually going to be joining the board of EFao this spring, so kind of a dual partnership there, but I'm also going to be one of their farmer researchers, and we're trialing, is that a mosquito? No way, that's our first mosquito. Anyway, we're trialing no-till potatoes, aka Ruth Stout potatoes. EFao just uses the term no-till, but I've known it for years as Ruth Stout method, where you don't dig the potatoes into the ground, you just lay them out on the soil and then pile them with really deep mulch. There's a ton of different mulch options that are available for the farmers in this trial, and I'm going to use straw. Really pumped. So I chose 3 varieties that performed best for the farmers who did this trial last year. Sort of a replication. I mean, the farmer-led research is a little bit less rigorous, but wonderful in that regard because farmers are able to still do their farming and grow what they need to grow and use the practices that they are used to using while also collecting data that over time will build into this great repository of data that will be really strong and powerful. So these are Purple Majesty seed potatoes, and I ordered them from Garden Alchemy. Let's have a look at these. I'm not planting until the end of May, maybe mid-May, we'll see. So I'm going to be putting these in cold storage, just in my garage. They're not sprouting yet, so it'll be fine. There's a variety of sizes in here. There's some small ones, and then there's a big one like this. And I will be chitting these. There's actually a protocol for the farmer-led research trial where I think it's like 100-gram pieces, 50-gram pieces. I'll have to look back at the protocol. But I'm actually going to weigh the pieces that we cut to make the chits. And then those are the chunks of potato that we actually plant. And I anticipate having 75 linear feet of potatoes this year, grown out at my mom's because she has the space. And whatever is too much for us to consume and store over winter, then we'll just donate to the local food bank. Because we are farmers in a different sense. We don't sell our produce, but we sell our expertise and entertainment value. All right. I better get back inside for now, and I'm going to come back out when the rain has dissipated and get these beauty trees into the ground. What I have left are hazelnuts. There's 3 hazelnuts here, and I have a couple hazelnuts actually already in my future hedgerow. We decided to plant a hedgerow when we went to Wales. Actually, it was about this time last year, or early March. Hedgerows provide amazing habitat for wildlife, and they're a nice visual block. So we've got a chain link fence on this side of our yard that isn't that attractive, and so if we can make a nice hedgerow that's going to cover the space, that would be ideal. Now, when you're planting a hedgerow, you can actually plant things really close together. Now, you're planting things that also will spread via rhizomes or runners, like elderberry and hazelnut and some types of hawthorns. We also have a swamp rose and what else? Forget. I'm sure there's more. Anyway, there's like a mix of shrubs like that in our hedgerow, and you can actually plant things like that 8 to 12 inches apart, because when you build a hedgerow, you're going to coppice them. You're going to cut them right down at the trunk level and then fold them over, and you're going to tangle them all up amongst each other anyway and keep it very well pruned and trimmed to the shape that you want. So you can plant them really close together. I'm going to stick these 3 hazelnuts in pretty close to my elderberries and other hazelnuts that are here, and one of the Arnold hawthorn shrubs that I have over there. Just dot them in between, and eventually we're going to end up with a really tightly planted series of hedge plants or shrubs that will be layered in amongst themselves to create a hedgerow. This is an example of how elderberry spreads. So this is the main elderberry shrub, and it went underground, sent up a new shoot right here, all the way over here. It's going to keep spreading like that. And I'm just going to move these where I don't want them and let them fill in where I do want them. I need things better labeled. I just saw some little shoots. I'm really hoping it wasn't my Solomon seal, but there's a good chance it was. This plant right here is an Oregon grape. It's native to the west coast of North America, of Turtle Island, but it was growing here of its own accord, and as far as we know, it's not at all harmful to our ecosystems, and it's going to be a nice part of this hedgerow, I think, if it comes through the fence fully and establishes itself on our side so I can work with it. So right now we've got a tiny little Arnold hawthorn under the cover. There's that Oregon grape coming through the fence slowly. There's a hazelnut right there. There's another little Arnold hawthorn right there. And then we've got maybe that's a third Arnold hawthorn. Oh wow, it survived. Okay. And then a smooth rose. And then another hazelnut right in that little cage there. And there's a gooseberry at the top of the hill too. An eastern prickly gooseberry, which is the native kind. Now, planting native species is something that my dad is super passionate about, and also a lot of ecologists. And I've learned a lot about native plants and the importance of native plants to restoring balance to the ecosystem. There are a lot of native pollinators, and there are bird species that rely on native insects that are here, and those insects rely on the native plants, and it's the whole food web. And you need a certain percentage of native plants in any given wild space or cultivated space to really restore that ecosystem. And I think it's 70% of your plants being native. And I'm actually working on a database right now of all the plant species that I have here. I don't have a percentage calculated yet. I have well over 100 native species now in my yard, and we just keep adding to it all the time. And hedgerows like this, where you can really cram things close together, it enables you to fit a lot more species in a space. Now we have like a sugar maple back there, a native tree species. That one species is going to take up a huge amount of space, a huge footprint in this little suburban lot, but you can fit in so many tiny species that you can get your numbers up that way. Now, if we're going to talk about native species, then we should probably also talk about invasive species. These are plants that are not from this ecosystem, so generally it's like Eurasia. They've been brought over here by people. and they've caused harm in this ecosystem by displacing the native plants. There are a lot of plants that are not native to here that do no harm in this ecosystem. They still feed some pollinators, they just don't act as host plants or feed certain pollinators. And I take a pretty tough stance on invasive species because they're really difficult to garden around. They will take over your space. And also because they escape your confines of your own garden and then they cause a bunch of harm in native ecosystems. I've seen really devastating pictures of forests that have transformed over time. They started out as this like lush jungle space of native ephemerals, things like bluebells and trilliums and jack-in-the-pulpits, and then they end up getting stamped out by invasive species like lily of the valley or periwinkle. These things escape the garden centers, they escape people's yards, and then they end up completely suffocating all of these native species. And then there goes the food source for insects, which goes the food source for the birds and mammals and everything. And so it does have some devastating effects. There's also agricultural impacts of invasive species. We spray herbicides on agricultural fields because plants are trying to grow where we're trying to grow our crops and they're suffocating them, and there are invasive species that are particularly detrimental when you're trying to grow food crops, and then people end up having to spray more herbicides on the food that we eat because of all these invasive species that are taking over agricultural fields, that creep in from the edges. And actually one of the plants that Zero Fox Tree Crop sent has the potential to become invasive, and so in my area at least, so I'm going to be putting it in a pot on my deck. It's medicinal. It's a member of the mint family, and I grow other members of the mint family that aren't native here, like spearmint, and I just grow it in a contained space. It does flower, so you have to be careful that it doesn't spread its seed everywhere. You can cut back the flowers. But there are some considerations when you're growing something that's medicinal or that's for food that has a potential to become invasive. Just make sure you're using it for medicine and for food. Use the whole thing. Don't just let it spread and go wild. Keep it contained and use it. It's one of my goals to learn more about the medicinal qualities of the plants that we grow here. I make a ton of teas already. We make teas out of like lemon balm and all the mints and hibiscus and ginger and all these things. But I'd love to better understand the medicines behind it. And if you know any of the medicinal qualities of the plants you see me planting today, please drop it in the comments because I want to learn more. Speaking of teas, I'm actually working on a video that'll come out probably like the end of summer or next fall, all about the teas that I make from my garden and the plants that you can plant in the fall so that you can get lots of teas for yourself next year. Today I'm working on a video that's like this far in the future because I need to get footage of the plant's life cycle and harvesting it and brewing tea with it and drying it for storage. So there's a lot I still have to capture to tell that story properly. I think this video is actually going to continue into tomorrow because I'm going to take those. Yes. It's raining. Oh no, all over your head. Oh boy. This video is actually going to continue into tomorrow. So I have 2 pawpaw trees coming from my friend Matt at the Urban Orchardist, and I have no idea where I'm going to put them yet. I kind of know, but I also just planted some of these from Zero Fox Tree Crops where I thought I might plant a pawpaw. So we're going to see. I'll catch you tomorrow. Okay, it's the next day. I've got 2 pawpaw trees here. These are from my friend Matt at the Urban Orchardist. Matt is awesome. He's come here and helped me a little bit as I was learning to prune my peach tree. And these are pawpaws that he grew out here in Guelph in my town. And I'm super excited to plant these, but I don't really have a place for them yet. I'm going to make it work though. I'm going to put one pawpaw eventually where my kids' swing set is. My kids are very quickly nearing the age of being too big for the little swings that we have, and so that swing set won't be here forever. And I do want a pawpaw there, but I can't put it there this year. So I'm going to plant it here this year, and then next year I can move it. I can move it carefully in the dormant season, and it'll be fine. And the other one I'm thinking I'm going to put on the other side of my back fence. We technically own like 2 to 3 feet on the other side, even though it's not always quite clear where the railway owns and where we own. I do some planting over there just to try to naturalize the space. It's got a lot of invasive weeds over there, and so I've just been planting some native flowers and trees One of the things that I planted was northern prickly ash, which is extremely prickly, and I did it because people like to go behind our fence to do drugs. And I just wanted to plant prickly things to try to deter it from being like the hangout space for that purpose. Matt makes these little tags for the trees, pawpaw, with the year it was started, 2023. All right, it's windy. I better get this planted. In order to plant this last pawpaw behind my fence, to be less of a weirdo walking down the street with a big shovel and a tree, I'm going to toss them over the fence from my side, and then I'm going to take the long walk and retrieve it. But I'm not going to film myself because that's even more weird. All right, that's all the bare roots I have right now, planted in the ground, ready to withstand this next big cold snap that we're getting. It's supposed to go into -11 overnight this week, which is not terrible. I've got plastic over things, like my peas are in here, and as I've said before, I've had them survive -10 overnight, no problem. I'm going to put some plastic water bottles, some jugs full of warm water, under this row cover, just to be on the safe side. It'll hold a little bit more heat in this plastic row cover overnight, and unfortunately the day following that cold night is going to be also cold, not rising above freezing. Some April. I mean, I guess it's pretty typical to have this roller coaster in the spring. It's easy to forget, but I'm really looking forward to days that are consistently above freezing, somewhere around 10 degrees Celsius or 50 Fahrenheit as our daily average. That would be lovely. Come on, mid-April. And I know we're not going to stop dipping below freezing until like the first week of May, which is fine. I'm not planting out any of my warm crops yet, just really cold tolerant things. It's just with this colder spring that we've been having so far, nothing is really up. Like my garlic hasn't even come up yet, and I'm really itching to start seeing some growth. I did show a clip in the beginning of this video of a hellebore that's up, and then also my overwintered spinach and some fresh little lettuce and radish and beet seeds that I've sown already under cover. Those are also finally starting to germinate thanks to the very few warmish days that we've had so far. But it's good for these bare roots to get in the ground with time to settle in, get a few good rains on them, get all that soil tightly packed around their roots, and then we can have a nice warm up, and then those trees can break dormancy. Boy, am I ever looking forward to buds on the peach tree and the apple trees this year. It's going to be great when it finally arrives because it feels like we've been waiting a long time. Thanks for coming along with me as we planted out these bare roots. I hope that you'll come and grow with us.